Alright, what's up guys? So this is episode 4 of Behind the Map, and the map we're gonna talk about, or I'm gonna talk about, is Closer to Hell 2016. So this map is actually a remake of, what is it? Of a Megawatt from Doom 2. It's called Perdition's Gate, which was actually supposed to be the third episode. Yeah, it was supposed to be the third episode for Final Doom, but id Software decided to only include, um, 2 episodes. So that was TNT and Plutonia. But basically, the guys that did Perdition's Gate, they decided to kind of like figure out a way to kind of make it into a commercial product because I guess they didn't want to throw away all the hard work they did of the Megawatt. And I do recommend you guys to play out the Megawatt. It is actually a pretty good one. It plays very similarly to like the pacing of Doom 2, but the action. I mean, the pacing of Doom 1, but the action of Doom 2. Like that's the best way I can describe Perdition's Gate. It also has custom textures and custom maps too. And one thing that I always kind of remembered about Perdition's Gate was kind of like this whole Egyptian themed type of feel, and this is pretty much one of those maps. So yeah, I tried to like use a lot of the lighting to kind of like create that sense of Egyptian vibe to it with the hell props, because this was made back in free update too, so we didn't have like the blocking boxes, the textured blocking boxes. But yeah, Perdition's Gate, it's definitely fun. I do recommend you guys to play it if you haven't played it yet. And it's actually, what is it, some of them, yeah, I believe like some of the maps were actually made by Tom Mustaine, who's actually one of like the developers for SnapMap. So it's just pretty cool to see like how a lot of like the old school Doom guys are still like working on Doom to this day in a different way. Matter of fact, this map was actually created by Jimmy Sybin, and he's actually like working at Gearbox nowadays. So it's kind of cool to see like how a lot of like the old school Doom fans started mapping, and now they're basically working at like these big video game companies nowadays. Just like the Casali brothers with Plutonia, and now they're working for Valve. I believe they still work at Valve. I have no idea what they've been up to be honest. But yeah, that's just like some cool like background history and stuff. So I guess I'll talk about why I picked this map to remake. So basically, I had a lot of fun making Courtyard, map 18 from Doom 2, and I think I wanted to kind of like make more remakes, mainly because I really do enjoy making map remakes because um when I first yeah, like when SnapMap was first announced, remakes were like the thing that I wanted to do right off the bat. Like that was pretty much my goal. I didn't want to like make my own maps until like I felt like I had enough remakes that I've done. So I definitely enjoy remaking maps, and after remaking the Courtyard, which I think is my very first map that I remade with custom geometry, I had a lot of fun with it, even though it was very painful and very annoying because that was one of the bigger maps, and it definitely took a lot of time. I wanted to try to do another map that wasn't as simple. I mean, that wasn't like as complex as the Courtyard. So I decided to try out this map, Closer to Hell. I believe it's map 19 for Perdition's Gate. But yeah, Closer to Hell is actually like, a pretty small level. It's almost like a deathmatch type of level. And I decided to do it not because it was like one of my favorite levels or anything, but because I felt like it was good practice. But not only that, I also, enjoyed the level. It's definitely a very challenging level, especially when you play it on Ultra Violence and you pistol start it. Like I actually think it's one of like the more intense levels when you pistol start it because you really have to be strategic. It's a map that you never ever feel safe because there's so many deadly traps, so many unsuspecting enemies that'll just hit you from like different angles, and you can totally die pretty quickly. So yeah, I thought that was like a really cool map to remake, and it definitely has like the gameplay that I would want to make in the map. So how accurate is it compared to the original version? I have to say it's actually fairly accurate. There are some stuff I kind of did to kind of like make it work better for like Doom, what is it? Doom 2016 mechanics. Like I think I remember I added stairs here, just like in the classics. But I don't really remember why I took them out. I remember there was just kind of like something awkward about it, so I took them all out and just decided to put an altar instead. And this is probably like the only thing that is like very different from the original. The original version, there's actually kind of like some height variant right here. It's actually like slightly more taller. But when I did that, it just looked it's so awkward. And not only that, I knew I wanted to kind of like add some player blocking volumes as like a roof, and I felt like that was gonna also make it even more awkward. So I just decided to sacrifice that and just make it all flat. But everything else is actually fairly accurate. I mean, yeah, I have to like use some props to kind of like replace um certain like objects from the classic Doom, but I feel like it does kind of like enhance the atmosphere more in, Doom 2016. Like, I always love using the columns. I always love putting fire on them. Like they always just look cool, and I'm really proud of like a lot of the lighting work I did to kind of like replicate the Egyptian vibe. And also, this map does take place like at night time. So, what was it? What? Oh wait, I forgot. Yeah, it takes place at nighttime, but in the original game, it's kind of like cartoony. Like, you can look at the skybox, and it has a very cartoony vibe to it. While the one that I made, it's a lot more menacing and a lot more grittier. So in some ways, I kind of feel like my version is actually like better than the original version. But I do enjoy like the original map too. So I don't know if I would say like it's a better map overall compared to like the original version. But I'm really proud of how I kind of like recreated the atmosphere and all that stuff with SnapMap. And just like the original map, it's a very challenging map. I try to like replicate that similar experience on Ultra Violence. I really want players to be very careful, be very cautious of what they're doing, and that's pretty much the same thing on this map. Even though there's the 12 enemy limit, which does kind of suck because when you play this map on Ultra Violence, there's a lot of enemies for like a small map like this. But this is where I feel like the 250% damage really comes in hand, because I can't really put much enemies, but having 250% damage on the enemies can definitely make some of these fights very nerve-wracking. I actually used to make this map have one life, and looking back then, I feel like I should have not done that with a lot of my maps. Although this map, I don't really think it's that hard. Like, if you're really patient and you're kind of like careful, I think you can totally beat it without any problems. But yeah, I pretty much stopped like making one life maps once I kind of realized like people were struggling to finish it, mainly because they don't have the patience, or maybe because it just sucks when you're back in the lobby and you have to like load up the map again. Like, that's another thing that I kind of didn't realize, and it is annoying when you have to like go through that process again with one life. Okay, so what else? Um, so the main reason why this area is like all green, because in the original version, this is like the marble area, so that's why I kind of make it all green here. Alright, is there anything else? Oh yeah, this is why, like, just like in my video where I give like custom mappers some tips, this is why you want to add like why you want to add like invisible barriers, because this map was designed for um Doom 1, Doom 2, like you couldn't jump back then, but with Doom 2, I mean with Doom 4, the snap and the double jumping and like the climbing and stuff, you can totally break a lot of like the old maps. So I tried to like add invisible barriers, and I found like a couple of areas where you could totally get out of the map. And yep, this is why when you make remakes, you gotta like have to have some sort of like invisible barrier there, because you can totally break the map. It is true, like I can take out like double jumping, but I love double jumping. I really like the mobility of it, and I just feel like it feels so wrong without it. So I would rather like have invisible barriers on my maps, and then keep the double jumping, keep the climbing aspects of Doom 2016. Alright, so is there anything else I can say? Um, so this area, I kind of like what I did here. Basically, there's supposed to be like an arch vial here, but I always like replacing the arch vial with like the cyber mancubus. I have no idea why, mainly because I guess because they're both like spongy targets. They're yeah, like this, like the Archvile. He may not look that hard to kill, but he's actually fairly tough to kill for like how he looks and stuff. And is there anything else I could say? Try my best to like come up with some good background of this map, mainly because this map is very short, and that's the problem. Oh shoot! You know what? In the future, I actually might have to like update this map because like the whole delete lag right there. That's really annoying. And yeah, that's kind of like annoying. It is annoying like how for like the older maps the delete, actually not for the older maps, but like for like the maps where I used to like rely on the delete logic, it now like lags and it's just annoying. It's kind of annoying to have to redo it again, and that's like one thing I really don't want to go through once like the new update happens. So, oh, now I remember I have some cool stuff I can talk about. There used to be a cackle demon in here. I basically added this just to kind of like add a bit more enemies because in the original game there's quite a bit of enemies here, and due to like the bug where the cackle demon placement isn't like properly function, like it like you can put a cackle demon here in the map editor, but for some reason when you playtest it, he'll like spawn out of the map or something. So I had to take that out, which completely sucks because that means lesser enemies, and I like to like have more enemies on this map. Well, actually, I thought like the enemy count was perfect enough, and I didn't have to like reduce it or increase it. Anything else I could say? So yeah, back in like the free update too, with like that little weird texture thing that we had because we didn't have textures on the player blocking volume. I really love how like the stone floor texture just completely brings this map to life, and it just looks so nice on it. But yeah, this is one of like my earliest custom maps and one of the oldest maps that I made. But I personally think it still is one of my best ones I've done, and probably one of the best remakes that I feel like you can possibly play in SnapMap. It does have 4-player co-op support, which I didn't like have any plans to support because I felt like that was too easy, but I kind of managed to find a way to kind of balance it out for 4 players and make it more challenging for that experience. It is definitely like a pretty challenging map. I guess kind of hard, but it's really not that bad. When I make these remakes, I try my best to um keep them as close as like the original games on ultra violence as possible, but also um try to like make it work with like the Doom 2016 mechanics and stuff, and all like the limitations and stuff. The 12 enemy units, yeah, stuff like that basically. And I had like something good. Like, oh yeah, there it is. This is what I want to talk about. So why did I have like this little player blocking volume here, and it's actually invisible? Mainly because in co-op, I always see a lot of people like getting killed right here, and they'll like fall off the map because this is kind of like because in the original game there was like a little wall right here, and basically you're not supposed to go there, and this is what I was trying to like do with the fire. You see, it's 400 damage, and basically, I thought like you go out here, you're gonna die, and basically people will know it's like an area you're not supposed to go. But then again, there's these pinkies that like kind of spawn in, and sometimes they'll just accidentally attack you, and then you'll get hit like out. I mean, you'll be like out of the map, or they'll freaking hit you, and then you get hurt by the fire. And I felt like that was kind of cheap, and it was pretty frustrating too. So I decided to kind of add like this little invisible barrier just to let you know that you're not supposed to go there. And it also blocks a couple of the fire, so you won't die from the fire too. And that is something I really wish I should have done back in like the early days of this map, but I was still like trying to learn and get the process of mapping and all of that stuff. Alright, is there any more stuff I can talk about? Um, Oh my god, I know I had something like really good, but I just can't remember what. Yep, this is just like some more invisible barriers. Like, yeah, that's kind of like the crappy thing with like double jumping and custom mapping. Like, you can totally like break people's maps so easily with that stuff, and I always have to like try to. like when I playtest, I try to like find areas that I know that is possible to get out of the map, and when I do, I'll immediately put invisible barriers because you're not supposed to go out there, and I don't want people breaking my map. All right, is there anything else? I think I'm going to try to wrap this up. So basically, I'm really proud of this map. Really love what I did with it. And this was back in free update too. I feel like maybe with with like the stuff that we have, I feel like maybe I could make it like a lot more accurate, I guess, to the original version because having player blocking volumes is so nice, and I think it would. I mean, it would take like a lot lesser time too, because I use like all these hell props. I try to use different items to kind of like keep the texturing different and all of that stuff. And yeah, this level, I'm really proud of what I did with it. It's definitely one of my favorites that I've done, and I'm glad that it still holds up really well because there are some levels where I made that are like old, but it hasn't really aged that well. And I'm probably gonna like try to go back and talk about some of those maps. But for Perdition's Gate, there's definitely a lot of maps that I see is possible to like remake because a lot of the maps are very short, and not only that, they just kind of have a lot of things that makes it SnapMap friendly. But at the same time, I do feel like a lot of those maps they're not really that great, or they're just too average for me to really like want to remake them. So I don't really know if I'll ever come back and remake any more Perdition's Gate maps because I basically try to like use them, because it was. I mean, I did remake like a couple of like other Perdition's Gate maps just for like the sake of practice, but also just for fun too. But at the same time, if I'm ever gonna remake more maps, it's definitely more maps from Doom 2 because I love Doom 2. It's my favorite classic Doom game. And I guess I can talk about like how frustratingly annoying it is to remake maps. I think remaking maps are more harder than like actually making your own maps because if you're like me who really enjoys like the classic games, who really want to try to make it as accurate as possible and all that stuff, it can definitely be a problem. Like just one like misaligned um angle or something, and it could totally make you um do everything like all over again. Like in my Alien Shrine map, I had to like work so many like small stuff, but then again, it was just really annoying. Like the map may not seem that big because it only has like 57% network or something, but there were so many things that just really annoyed me. But that's because I'm trying my best to make the map look as accurate as possible and look as nice as possible and all of that stuff. And with that said, I think that is it for my Closer to Hell episode. So I'm probably gonna do another one today because I miss doing these videos and it's pretty fun to go back to like old maps and just talk about like the process of them and all that stuff. So thank you for watching and stay tuned for more, guys.